This is James Freeman from the Wall Street Journal. He is assistant editor of the editorial page. He is also a Fox News contributor. James, thank you so much for joining me. What do you think of how much the gap has closed in Florida? You know, that would imply that we think the polls are accurate, or at least that the trend is accurate. I don't know how you feel about that, if you have any more faith in them now than maybe we all did a month ago. But what do you think?
Yeah, certainly a tight race. I think the Trump team has got to be excited about that new NBC Marist poll showing the race tied and Trump actually with an edge among Latino voters there. You mentioned how he does like to stress the economy wherever he goes. And also he's trying in his Florida trip especially, and I think we'll hear it other places, to talk about conservation versus environmentalism, which is increasingly defined by Joe Biden and others as really making big changes to the economy, phasing out fossil fuels. The president's talking about air and water issues that are maybe closer to home, cleaning up the Everglades, maintaining national parks, this sort of thing. So we'll see if that sings to Florida voters.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was interesting as well. Do you feel like the research and the vibe and everything supports it? Must, otherwise I don't know why he would be out doing it and saying it right now. I guess, is it surprising to you that that's what that audience wants to hear? You know, it's a moratorium on drilling when we've talked, or continuing them, when we've talked about how important drilling is, but leaning towards fracking, and also talking about they have had a huge problem with red tide and those other issues along the Florida coast. And certainly, you know, that's a huge part of everyone's property value and livelihood and the tourist industry and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, I think he is trying to strike a balance. We've talked on this program before about how a lot of times when you poll people on environmental issues, particularly the climate, they express a great deal of sympathy with doing something about it, but not so much enthusiasm about spending tons of money. So I think this is part of the strategy. The president has obviously had a lot of success in terms of limiting regulation, putting in reforms to allow economic growth. But I think he also wants people to know that he's not talking about just sort of a no rules environment where they can't depend on clean air and clean water. And I think that's what he's trying to do here. He's also going to talk about a bill he signed last month to dedicate some of the royalties the federal government collects from energy, oil and gas development to improving national parks, a lot of the maintenance that's been ignored for years and years. And this of all years, people are heading out camping a lot more. I think that might resonate with some people.
No, yeah, that's a great point. Real quick before we run out of time, there's a lot of talk today about the president putting money into his own campaign, this idea that he has spent a ton during the coronavirus, he says, to battle back against the lies that Democrats are telling. At the same time, you can't change the channel or go anywhere without seeing a Joe Biden ad. They're pretty compelling. A bunch of the ones that I've seen have him looking directly into the camera. And my son walked by the TV and he said, "Oh, what are they showing?" He thought it was a speech because of the way that they shot it. It doesn't feel like an ad, but he's doing a better job, Joe Biden, than he might normally do when he's talking, reading prompter and kind of talking off the cuff, perhaps. Is this an effective campaign? Do you think it'll make a difference?
I don't know. The money raised by Joe Biden has been impressive, that's for sure. The president told reporters today before leaving for Florida that he's going to spend whatever it takes to win. He said this is the most important election in years or maybe ever. I wonder how much paid advertising really matters to in an environment like this where you have so much media that's hostile to the president. I'm not sure buying the additional hostile messages on some other cable networks really is going to move the needle. But the president says he's ready to match Biden on the spending. Well, far be it for me to criticize television ads that pay my salary, so I'm just going to leave it there, James. Thank you so much. Don't bite that hand that feeds you, man. Connell.
Yeah, that's right.